Hey everyone, this is Dr. Chellam. So, in this particular podcast, I'm talking to our guest, Dr. Eric Zielinski. He's the author of the national bestseller, The Healing Power of Essential Oils, an Essential Oils Diet. So, Dr. Z has pioneered natural living and biblical health education since 2003. One of the reasons I had him in the podcast, of course, this is a few months ago, almost 3 months ago, that I had him in the podcast in November 2020, when we were in the midst of the pandemic, possible vaccination, and election. So there was a lot of uncertainty, and so a lot of his discussion is really trying to wheel in the power to get your health back under your control. So I would invite you to listen to this podcast because I think we've done a very fair discussion about essential oils, and I know many of you have seen the phrase, there's an oil for that. And I'm so glad Dr. Z actually looks at essential oils as just another tool in your toolkit of natural living. So if this is something where you want to really understand the science behind essential oils and how to use it or optimally use it in your health and wellness path, then this is a podcast for you. This is a little outside my comfort zone, but I really enjoyed having this chat with Dr. Zielinski, and I think you will too. So without any further delay, here's my conversation with Dr. Z. Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Chellam. Once again, welcome to our podcast, Women Wired for Wellness. Today's guest is Dr. Eric Zielinski. He's the author of the national bestseller, The Healing Power of Essential Oils. And he's got a great website, naturallivingfamily.com. And I think it has a lot of exciting information for those of you who are into natural living. And really, I'm excited about this particular segment because essential oils is not my jam. But I love to learn about it because everybody is interested in knowing a very natural way and so something that's easily accessible. So today, what I asked Dr. Zielinski, he can talk about a lot of things, but I wanted him to specifically talk about the medicine cabinet. So welcome, Dr. Zielinski, and thank you so much for actually being a part of our podcast. And if there's something I have not highlighted in your background, because I know aromatherapy is a certification you have, and this is something that you love to do, please go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll get into what we are here to discuss.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's a wonderful time to be talking about something like this because a lot of folks don't realize that, especially in the timestamp. I mean, what's today? November 17th, 2020, right?
6 weeks to a new year.
Yeah, but 6 weeks to a new year, but not to a new reality. And the reality starts with us today. And we're very blessed. My wife and I are very blessed to have 5 children and to have been very minimally overall in the big scheme of things, to be very minimally affected in our day-to-day life because of what's happened. And a big part of that has been because of our devotion to and preparation to live the way that we live. And at the core of that is making our own things and knowing what to do when those bumps and bruises and things happen, the flu, the virus, whatever it might be. And at the core of natural medicine are essential oils. And so that's why I'm really so passionate about this topic, because a lot of folks right now, today, literally at this moment, they feel the whole situation and the circumstance around them is out of their control. Yeah. And to a good extent it is. When you leave your door, when you leave your home, when you get into your car, go to work or go to the store, a lot of everything is out of your control.
Yeah.
But most people now, more than ever, are spending time indoors, in their home. You have absolute control over what happens in that house.
Yep.
And that means you can create the environment to produce healthy, happy hormones, healthy, happy neurotransmitters to give you joy and peace and love. You don't have to worry about people rushing to the stores to get hand sanitizer and soap because you could make your own if you need to, like we did. You don't need to worry about the consumer market. You don't need to worry about the economy, because if you need to pinch some pennies, you know how to do it, and you know how to do it in a way that will keep you healthy and happy. So that's why, and it's not cliche to hear and talk about how essential oils can empower our life.
Yeah.
And I look forward to really diving deep into this topic with you today.
Awesome. So just for somebody who's like a completely a novice to essential oils, I just think they smell great. Some of them do.
Yeah.
Why is it called an essential oil? And like for instance, in homeopathy, it comes from different things, like animals or plants, wherever the extract comes from. But what is an essential oil? Where do they come from? And why is it called essential oils?
Not many people ask that question. I like that because I actually answer that in my book, The Healing Power of Essential Oils, because essential oils are neither essential nor are they oils, meaning they're secondary metabolites. So a primary metabolite are your carbs, your proteins, your vitamins and minerals. You need these or you will die. Secondary metabolites like fiber, bioactive compounds like antioxidants, which essential oils are rich of them. You don't need them to live. You need them to thrive. You need them to thrive. Without a robust portfolio of secondary metabolites, like again, the fibers and the antioxidants and the polyphenols, and of which essential oils are and contain all that stuff, you'll never truly be healthy, right? And so that's what they are. They're also not oil. They don't leave a fatty residue. So when we think of oil, we think of olive oil, sesame seed oil, coconut oil. But essential oils are fat-loving, water-hating. They're lipophilic, right? Mm-hmm. And they're hydrophobic for those chemists, which means they interact with oils in a way where they are lipid soluble. And that's why they call them oil. So it's a funny thing because, again, they're not essential and they're not oils, but I could think of nothing that I would rather have to be essential in my medicine cabinet than essential oils. I mean, they are plant-based medicine. So to put them into perspective, you'll have to get 3 to 4 pounds. And again, it's hard to conceptualize most people, but 3 to 4 pounds of lavender flowers just to get one itty-bitty bottle of lavender. That's a lot of plant matter that's steam distilled down to get, again, 50, 60, 100, 200 drops, depending on the size of the bottle that you get. To put things into perspective, when you walk into a lavender field, you're not going to see a pool of lavender on the ground, right? You need to steam distill it. It has to be a man-made process. But when you put your nose into a lavender flower and smell the blossoms, the physical particles are being emitted from the lavender into your nose, and those are volatile organic compounds. Volatile meaning they readily evaporate, all right? So that's really what they are. And the power of essential oils starts through the olfactory system. And that's your sense of smell. And more research is being done today because we know from an evolutionary perspective, from a simple protection perspective, that we need a keen sense of smell. Yeah. And most animals rely heavily on that sense of smell. But what we don't recognize, most people, is that the olfactory system starts in the nose. And when you smell something, neural impulses are directly stimulated and they communicate with the amygdala, your hippocampus, your limbic system. Your limbic system is your primal brain. It's the first primal brain. It's the first portion of your brain that's being developed when you're a fetus. That's your mood, your memory, your emotions.
Yes.
Again, your mood, your memory, and your emotions. How many people right now need support with their mood? How many people right now need support with their emotions? We're talking depression, anxiety, stress response.
Yep.
And for people that have suffered through and who hasn't, I mean, really, one thing we haven't talked enough about is the preparation of how people are going to get through and heal from 2020. There is rampant post-traumatic stress. People don't even realize what's going to happen. 2021 and beyond, the post-traumatic stress disorder that is just going to run rampant. That's going to be the true epidemic in the next 4, 5, 6 years. Well, big portion of that stems in the limbic system. And we could do things. We don't need to run to the pharmacy. We don't need to run to the doctor to get on a benzodiazepine or to get on some sort of antidepressant unless you're in a life or death situation. You need to do what you need to do to stay alive. But for the vast majority of people, we can handle these negative and dark emotions naturally. And that's where essential oils come into play in a big, big way, because research has shown when you inhale essential oils like orange, like lime, lemon, bergamot, any citrus oil, grapefruit, neroli, they produce an antidepressive effect, a physiological effect where dopamine and serotonin gets produced. So this is not hocus pocus. This is not just helping you smell better. What we're doing is helping your body interact in brain chemistry. That's at the very macro level. What I do is I teach people true aromatherapy, which is not just the aroma. Aromatherapy, in actual aromatherapy, is the medicinal use of essential oils, which includes ingestion, like how you would ingest a pill, a supplement, a pharmaceutical, and also topical application, like you would put a cream or a salve or a patch if you're trying to quit, smoking or something like that. That's what we do, and that's what we help people with.
Got it. So basically, whatever they extract of the plants, it creates a biochemical change in our body. It's not just the smell, but there's actually a biochemical change to give you a certain result, right?
It's medicine.
Am I understanding?
Yeah, and people, really, the reality is, and this is hard for some people to grasp at first until I tell them, and they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. When you look at the drugs that you take, when you look at the sleep medication, when you look at aspirin's perfect example. Well, where do you think chemists and pharmacists came up with the chemical structure to create the drug that people take? It's not like they invent. Yeah, they didn't invent it in a vacuum. Yeah. It's not like someone woke up and like, oh, let's do this.
Yeah.
Aspirin's a perfect example. You go to willow. You go to willow bark. People have used willow bark for thousands of years, extracting willow bark through oil and just getting the essential oil of willow into a fatty substance that we know of as like an herbal extract. They would use that, right? They would make poultices. And we need to recognize too that before the advent of the antibiotic, combat medicine in World War I, World War II, medics used essential oils, lemongrass, clove, oregano, tea tree. This was medicine before, again, the advent of antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial products. Right. And so what there's been has been a resurgence of interest back to nature because we see that these pharmaceuticals, the problem is, and this is reality, and I think, and you'll appreciate this maybe more than others because of your questions that you're asking, there's a lock and key mechanism that we all have the receptors around every cell. And if you have the right proper key, it unlocks a receptor to produce a desired result or a not desired result. So when you have a pharmaceutical, it's like using a key that's missing a tooth. It could get into the keyhole, but it can't unlock the door. That's why every single drug you'll ever take will always have at least one side effect, if not many. It creates, in essence, a neurological insult. The body doesn't know what to do with these drugs, so the body cannot properly metabolize these drugs. So you end up storing a lot of these pharmaceuticals in your adipose cells and liver, kidneys. Well, essential oils are the key that has all the teeth that unlocks the door in the proper way, in the proper function. And so when you look at it from a natural versus unnatural perspective, when push comes to shove, a lot of folks would rather go try something without side effects than something with. And they didn't even realize the option was there.
Right.
And so when it comes to, my book, The Healing Power of Essential Oils, I try to outline a lot of the common things, especially I love your Women Wired for Wellness podcast, because I was only, and I'll confess, women, I'm telling you, you all are complicated. Your bodies are complex. And I was only going to write one chapter on women's health in my book and then research studies, like we're talking hundreds. And I went to my publisher and I'm like, hey, what are your thoughts of writing a whole section, like 5 chapters of women's health? And I'll cover libido in one and menopause in another and autoimmunity and candida and like, yeah. And it was like a no-brainer for my publisher. Why? Because most people listening to this, I'm assuming obviously are women, but in natural health as a whole, most people interested in health are women statistically. Like 75 to 80% of all of the millions of followers we have are women. Yeah. So I'm very much excited about this because women are more in tune with their body than men as a whole. They're more open to using natural therapies. But there are so many things that women can do with essential oils to regulate everything from your periods to help with labor and delivery, to stimulate breast function or breast milk function if you're nursing, to mitigating the risks and the symptoms of menopause. So the sky is the limit. But I hope that kind of paints the picture of what true plant-based medicine. And I'll end with this. When it comes to herbalism, and I can't speak too much about homeopathy, but I do know that there's a profound impact, like a profound predictable physiological response when you use homeopathy.
Right.
But when it comes to herbalism, herbs are wonderful. They have a very nice, often subtle therapeutic effect, but one drop of essential oil, for example, has the same physiological effect on blood sugar balancing as like a tablespoon of cinnamon bark powder. All right. So just to put it into perspective, this is concentrated plant-based medicine. And so you need to use it accordingly. And we'll maybe talk a little about how to use them.
Perfect. So let's talk about what we intended to start out this whole podcast conversation is, I don't, listening to what you've just said, I don't think it should be called a medicine cabinet. It should be called your thriving cabinet, right? Your thriving health cabinet. So what should be in a cabinet? What are the things that you find that people need on a day-to-day basis? I mean, I'm assuming this is something that you're saying you should always have on hand because it's something that you get to see on a regular basis, right?
Yeah, there's two approaches. I mean, most homes in America have a traditional medicine cabinet, right, in the bathroom or restroom, and that's filled with sleep aids, tummy ache aids, indigestion, pain issues, right? A lot of libido, something.
Constipation.
So, yes. And so, when I look at, so we could discuss a medicine cabinet makeover, like looking at what people take, or there's also, you propose, basically, I'm hearing like an underlying discussion here is, how do we incorporate essential oils into a healthy living lifestyle that has dual-fold effect? One, it enhances your lifestyle, but two, it puts you in I would make a statement here, a very clear statement. Living a healthy, natural living lifestyle puts you at an infinitely less likelihood to develop disease. And that's because you're managing the chronic inflammation epidemic that's been linked to virtually every disease out, cancer, autoimmunity, neurocognitive disorders. So if you could live an anti-inflammatory, stress managing lifestyle that enhances mood, that enhances your life, then that's a whole nother topic. So which route did you want to go? Like completely revamp the medicine cabinet that people typically have, or do you want to go more on the lifestyle?
Let's do the revamping of the medicine cabinet, because I think a lot of people, the thriving part of it, I think has several parts to it, but I think simple, let's make it simple. And if we have time, we'll get a little more into the thriving part.
Okay. There's a lot. And let me stress by stating that, I'm going to be sharing some blends, and I'll actually pull up from my book exactly to give you the recipes that I feature in my book, just a couple that I've seen work. The recipes that we feature in my book are primarily based off of the research. So, for example, researchers know that certain chemical components, like, for example, lavender. A lot of folks recognize lavender is soporific, it's calming, but primarily because of a chemical known as linalool. And that's a chemical in lavender that what chemists will do is they'll extract that, they'll manufacture it synthetically, and then they'll create their own, sleep aid, which might be linalool based. You've all heard of eucalyptus menthol. Well, menthol is a component of peppermint, right? It's a component. So when you look at that, there are certain recipes that work because research has suggested through various clinical trials. Yet at the end of the day, I think it's really important to realize, like a naturopath practices homeopathy, a chiropractor practices chiropractic, a doctor practices medicine. We need to practice, meaning you don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. We need to do trial and error. And so for someone, let's say pain, we'll do pain's a perfect example. Turmeric, copaiba, frankincense, wintergreen, peppermint, like these oils have profound anti-inflammatory effects, but it might not work for you like they work for someone else. And there's a million reasons why. Just like you go to a doctor and your doctor prescribes XYZ medication for XYZ condition, it's not guaranteed it's going to work for everybody.
Right.
So I want to encourage people as a whole to truly take advantage of this opportunity that we have. And we all have a little more time than we have maybe 5, 7, 10 months ago, right? And when we're kind of like at home, where a lot of us are right now, you got a little more time to do a little research and a little time to do some playing around. Have fun with this. So when it comes to essential oils, I just gave you like 6 essential oils off the top of my head. And orange is another one, extremely anti-inflammatory, rich with a chemical known as D-limonene, which has been shown to kill cancer cells, but also soothe pain. And so you could get these oils and you could try a couple and make your own blend. But again, at the basis for what we have, I have this pain away oil. It's really interesting that we're having this conversation because one of the members that we have in our private groups, wonderful group, about 15,000 people. One woman just said, hey, just today, a couple hours ago, I was reading the comments and she said, just want to thank Dr. Z and Mama Z for the pain away body oil recipe in the book, because she's been going through some significant pain issues and doctor can't help. And she's been going back and forth. It's really creating a lot of mental strain. And she tried the recipe and she's like, you know what? Within minutes, the edge came off. And I'm not saying it healed her. I'm not saying like she's, oh, hallelujah, she's back. I mean, like,
suffering is down. Yeah. She's not suffering as much as she did.
And that's priceless.
Yeah.
And the phrase that she used, it immediately, and that's how I want to impress upon people. When you apply essential oils on your body, it will and can have an immediate effect. And research has shown that when you apply essential oils, especially do it safely with dilution, or with a carrier oil, properly diluting with like coconut oil or jojoba or olive oil or something that you have on hand, that within 5 minutes, the chemicals that are in the essential oils will penetrate in your bloodstream and are detected within your bloodstream. And within an hour and a half to 2 hours, they can't be detected anymore, which suggests that they're completely metabolized. So what does that mean? Like if we're going to go to pain, you might need to apply this every 2-3 hours. Unlike your... what is it?
Long-acting.
Yeah.
Anti-inflammation. You take one pill.
And the topical, the problem, people don't realize, the problem with DEET, the bug spray, is they put a chemical surfactant, which essentially traps the chemicals on your skin for up to 12, 24 hours. That's dangerous.
Right.
That's not healthy. That could create problems on your skin. And you don't want that. You want something to experience naturally. You want your skin to be able to metabolize. So anyway, here's a pain away oil recipe, and it's very simple. You start out with 1 ounce of a carrier oil, and again, it could be olive oil, coconut oil, jojoba, sweet almond. You simply take 10 drops of lavender essential oil, 10 drops of peppermint, and if you got it, 5 drops of lemon balm, also known as Melissa. Lemon balm can be a little pricey. I understand that. So if you're on a budget, you might want to just replace that with 5 drops of frankincense or 5 drops of copaiba. Copaiba is a really interesting essential oil because it has been shown to directly interact with the endocannabinoid system. And so a lot of people are using CBD topically for pain, and also internally for pain.
Right.
And so what you could do, if you have responded well to CBD, or if you have any concerns, because some people do, copaiba has absolutely zero chance of having any psychotropic effects, meaning it won't get you high. And it has a very similar effect on CBD, I believe, 2. Because there's 2 primary receptors, CBD1, CBD2. I believe it's a CBD2 receptor that copaiba stimulates. And so you'll have an anti-inflammatory, pain-relieving, analgesic property right there just by using that. And that right there, that simple recipe, that's days, a couple weeks worth of just a topical salve. So what do? You have a pain, this can also be ingested, by the way, but you have this recipe and you can apply it over painful arthritic joints or muscles. But let's say you have systemic pain. Let's say you have fibromyalgia. You could take 1 or 2 drops of a blend, and you can create a blend of lavender, peppermint, again, lemon balm, copaiba, all that, frankincense. It can be ingested. You put 2 or 3 drops into, or maybe 4 at the most, into a gel capsule, and you get the vegan gel capsules up on Amazon or at your local health food store, and you fill up the capsule with olive oil. Simple. You can take that once or twice a day and just see what happens, see how your body responds. And most people that follow these protocols, they notice a relatively quick, almost instant response in a positive way. Again, not that I'm saying they're healed, but once they get through this initial, like, take that edge off, folks start feeling better. They start thinking like, okay, what's the root cause? Like, why do I feel this way? Why is there chronic pain? And then they start to chip away at maybe some root causes of the inflammation, or maybe some root causes of the indigestion. And very similar approach to indigestion, like things people don't recognize, like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, or Crohn's disease, like just tummy aches and gut issues. Oils like caraway and peppermint. You'll see peppermint coming up again and again.
Lots, yeah.
And peppermint's wonderful for gut concerns, but you just don't want to put a drop in your mouth.
Yeah.
You want to ingest them safely in capsule form. Again, we're preventing and treating disease here. Much different than, hey, let's just enjoy a couple drops in, like the diffuser behind me. So that's pain. What else do we have? There, again, a variety of different oils that could help. Like everyone's talking about the immune system.
Right.
The concern I have with the discussion that we're having right now is no one's really talking about how to enhance the immune system naturally. It's usually like, hey, we have issues out there and we have a threat, and let's do certain things to protect ourselves from that threat. And I want to add to the conversation that we have been gifted. We have been gifted with an immune system that, when functioning properly, can ward off disease. And if someone does get infected by whatever it might be, your immune system will do hopefully a good job at cleaning the body out so you can then get back on your feet. There's an immune boosting blend that's actually been shown in research trials to kill the flu virus. So we diffuse this every flu season, which right now we're in flu season, right? Every year we diffuse this. We put this in our homemade hand sanitizers. We add this in our body oil. But this immune boosting blend is something that you can also do if you want to do anything prophylactically, or if you are sick, to help with immune boosting. If you have infection, or if you're just sniffle, cold, and flu, and it's equal parts of, and this is a basic, and let me kind of give you an example for those people who are watching. Like this bottle here, what you would do is, this bottle can hold roughly like 250 drops. So what you would do when you start blending, a very simple process, is to add, let's say, 15 to 20 drops of a handful of different oils. And then you just mix it, and now you have your own blend. Yeah. A lot of people don't know where to start. And again, that's where the books come into play. So this immune boosting blend are 15, 20 drops here of clove oil, cinnamon bark, eucalyptus, lemon, orange, and rosemary. Again, this is shown by research trials to kill the flu virus. And so take it for what it is. Can it kill and help with other viruses? I don't know. Research hasn't shown, but I will tell you, having something like this, and you can ingest all these oils in a gel capsule, 2 to 3 drops at the most. And that is a wonderful way, again, of naturally boosting the immune system, helping you get through some sickness. We like to add 1 or 2 drops in a culinary approach. And this is where the kids come into play. We add some manuka honey, or some raw honey. We'll get some coconut oil, lipospheric or liposomal vitamin C, and a little bit of like almond butter. So again, you're thinking like, okay, what are some fatty substances that could help dilute these essential oils? Because if you just put a drop of that in your mouth, it's going to burn your mouth. Yeah. And it could burn your skin. So we get like a tablespoon of coconut oil, a tablespoon of almond butter, a teaspoon of raw honey. You mix that all together with 2 drops of that. The kids call it candy. It's for them, it is candy because they've never had candy before. We don't feed our kids candy. And it's very sweet. A little pinch of Himalayan sea salt or Himalayan pink salt. And that is a nice way of, prophylactically giving your immune system a boost. Indigestion, something to think about. Ginger oil, I want to stress, topical application of ginger over the tummy can do wonders for people. It can be very, very helpful, very soothing, especially for people with gas, little children. You always want to make sure you're diluting properly and just not, again, applying oils on the stomach. And what else are we missing? So I'll end with mood boosting. I think we talked a little bit about it, but I want to stress the importance of a strategy that people can take wherever they go, because unless you have a battery pack and you have a diffuser with you, it might be hard. But this is called an aromatherapy inhaler. For those people watching or if you're listening, you can go on Amazon, type up aromatherapy inhaler, and essentially it looks, what does this look like? It looks like a lipstick tube. Yeah. And it's a glass encasement. That's glass. And inside this glass tube is a cotton swab. And you saturate the cotton with essential oil. And what you have is you have on-the-go aromatherapy. And the nice thing is it's discreet. So whether you're in your car or at work or in a public place like a subway or a bus, no one can smell this. I mean, the lid's on. And if you're having an anxious moment, if you are prone to panic attacks, if you're stressed, depressed, you simply can just inhale and you can create a different environment for yourself wherever you are. And this can help people. A strategy like this, oils like bergamot and lime, for example, have been shown to be as effective as anxiety medication like benzodiazepines. Like something like this can help stop a panic attack in its tracks, like immediately. And one of the strategies I like about it is it forces you to breathe. It forces you to focus and calm. And so if you're going through a moment right now, like you could just be completely beside yourself. I mean, just the news and you're watching this and you're afraid to leave your home or your family, your friends, whatever. If you're going nuts, a lot of people are. I have experienced that in my past. I used to suffer with panic attacks. You can simply just close your eyes and you get your aromatherapy tube and just take 3 or 4 deep breaths on each nostril. And I want you to focus on your breaths, 1, 2, 3 in, 1, 2, 3 out. And you're counting in, you're counting out, your eyes are closed, and your focal point is just the inhalation of these oils. Now, what that does is, for one, it stops everything. It puts 100% of your attention on this activity. And it's really, really hard. It's really hard to tell some people, well, just calm your mind, meditate.
Yeah.
Do your yoga pose and just get into your sacred space. Well, how do you do that practically? I found that having a focal point helps. And not only having a focal point in which is a kinesthetic, a movement issue, a movement support, but having an essential oil blend that can help boost mood predictably is wonderful because that just adds to the experience. And so again, this is just something just the top of my head. There are a variety of ways. And I want to stress that virtually every medical approach or every approach that we see in medicine, there is an aromatherapy adjunct to it, whether a replacement of or a solution that can go with to help your situation.
Got it. So basically what I'm understanding is you just like medicine, there is a lot of trial to see what works well for you. And I'm sure there's a genetic component for it, or even, how your body metabolizes this. And it can be inhaled, applied in the body, ingested. And really getting to know how to use them, your book is going to be very useful. So we covered inflammation, we covered gastrointestinal symptoms. Insomnia is another one that people struggle with a lot. And I'm assuming you have, that would be a part of the medicine cabinet, besides just the mood. Do you have anything for the skin? Like, is this something that you apply, or is it something that you would ingest for the skin? Like acne or psoriasis? Yeah,
that'd be primarily topical. But for someone who is dealing with gut concern that manifests through skin issues, there's a direct... See, here's where essential oils kind of hit 3 birds with 1 stone, because I'm sure you're familiar with the gut-skin-brain connection.
Yes.
And so is it the chicken or the egg? I mean, what starts first? Is it a mental condition? Is it a skin condition? Is it a gut condition? Well, it's all 3. All 3 can start. All 3 can stimulate and manifest in the other 2. So that's a concern, is what can we do to help with the mind to help with the skin and help with the gut. And so when it comes to it, the answer is both. I mean, inhalation can help with the skin, topical, obviously, right? Because if you have any sort of condition that dry, cracked skin, like there's a medical condition known as leaky skin, which is synonymous to leaky gut. And you have micro slits in your skin due to dry, cracking, unnourished skin, but also the chemicals that people put on their skin,
Yep.
trying to smell good, trying to look good.
Yeah.
Women, I'm telling you, you're walking outside, or most women, when they did work at jobs nowadays, everyone's working inside, but most women, when they left their home, were a literal chemistry experiment with 200-300 chemicals on their
Yep.
face, with perfumes and chemicals over their skin and makeup, and men, not so much. That's not something that men have been guilty of necessarily. And I say the word guilty because for the sake of what? For the sake of beauty, right? A lot of women have put themselves in harm's way. And so we're seeing like one thing that's beautiful about this experience that we're having with the pandemic is, a lot of women, there's this movement I saw on the news of women not wearing bras. Like, I don't need to wear a bra. Yay, I'm free. Like that's kind of fun, but it's kind of real. Like you
Yeah.
don't need to live under the stigma of having to look or smell or feel a certain way now. And so you have maybe a reset. Maybe this is a time when you not wear makeup for a week and see what happens to your skin. Maybe this is a time when you don't wear your normal perfume, which I would say throw away.
I agree. Yeah.
100% of all your synthetic fragrances, aerosols, poo-poo sprays, wallflowers, plugins, throw it away. It does nothing. Like the inflammatory effects on the brain, causing Alzheimer's and dementia, proven. The inflammatory effects on the nervous system, causing autoimmunity, proven. Cancer, proven. It's like, what more research do we need to suggest that this stuff should be outlawed? It's a sin that it's even available on the marketplace. People don't know. And you go to the store, again, we're talking about skin here. We're going to the store trying to smell good and look good and have nourished skin, not realizing that most of the stuff you buy at the store is drying out your skin. They're not moisturizers, they're drying agents. So what do? You can easily create an emollient at home, again, with a lot of the same ingredients. It's just a matter of, adding certain things in different proportions, like shea butter is a wonderful, wonderful emollient. Now, for people with skin conditions like psoriasis and eczema, burns, even skin cancers, my wife has what she calls a skin healing serum, which is simply a mixture of aloe, vitamin E, and coconut oil. And she buzzes it up together in her magic bullet, or if you have a food processor, but she adds some like helichrysum, which is a wonderful skin healing. It's known as Immortel. The herb is known as the fountain of youth, Immortel. Helichrysum essential oil and frankincense and lavender. It creates a wonderful skin healing serum, is what she calls it. And it does wonders on people's skin. And not that this is something that I personally use every day, but when I need it, it's there. And that's where having your medicine cabinet ready. This is actually something we put in the refrigerator because we find that it's nice. It hardens with the coconut oil, and it's wonderful to have on hand for burns and scrapes. And it does wonders, and it's soothing. It's very soothing. And it also does well to, in your medicine cabinet if you don't want to have it cooled. But it's a good solution to a lot of things. But the key is just proper daily moisturization, and you'll find olive oil and coconut oil, jojoba, sweet almond oil, they do wonders. And that's really all that you need. With a couple drops of essential oil, you can add some aloe or vitamin E, vitamin A, also enhance the skin's integrity, the elastin. And you look at my wife, and I've learned a lot from her. She's been pregnant now 6 times, and you can't find a stretch mark on her body. Like, she is obsessive about her skincare regimen, and she's 42 years old, and most people think like she's in her 20s. Like, it's not bragging. It's the fact that she's done a really, really good job with her graceful, I don't want to call it anti-aging, but with her graceful aging routine. And so a lot of this is, quite frankly, common sense when you realize what's in the products that people use. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Why would I want to use that? Why would I want to use, here's a question for everyone. Why would I use a moisturizer whose first ingredient is water?
Yeah.
First ingredient to your moisturizer is aqua. That's a fancy way. That's what they say because they don't want people to see it's water. So they think we're stupid. So the manufacturers say aqua. Well, that sounds nice, or whatever French or Latin term they'll try to use for water. Well, water evaporates. Water dries the skin. You don't want that to be your first ingredient to an emollient that's supposed to give moisture and protection. Oh, that makes sense. Well, it makes sense to me too when I first learned that 15 years ago. But up until then, I was like, yeah, not realizing every time I go outside, especially, you're in Novi, Michigan. I was raised in Michigan, those harsh, cruel winters. I mean, you walk outside, your lips just start bleeding.
Yeah.
I mean, God help us. I live in Georgia. We don't deal with that anymore, thank God. So there are a lot of things you can do. So I'm glad you mentioned the skin because the integrity of the skin is so important.
Absolutely. So having done essential oils and aromatherapy and written a book, you might be the best person for me to ask, what are the pet peeves? I'm sure you see a lot of people selling oils, making concoctions. What are your pet peeves about essential oils?
Ooh, well, first, I want to be careful that we use them the right way.
Yeah.
And you have to dilute your essential oils.
Got it.
Period.
I learned that the hard way, by the way. I bought, the rose. I just loved. I use usually sandalwood and jasmine, and so I wanted to try rose, and no one told me. They just it was $225, some exorbitant price. And I applied it to the neck, just little spots like I do the sandalwood oil, and it just burnt my neck. No one told me I had to dilute it, but I learned it the hard way. So yes, I agree with dilute.
I mean, who would have thought? And I want to kind of put things into perspective too. I would assume that was real rose because it was so expensive. When you go to the store and see a bottle of rose for $5, it ain't real. I guarantee you that.
I know.
People don't realize, like, you can't find a gallon of gas anymore for 10 cents. It just doesn't exist, right? The raw material. But that bottle of rose, if used properly, will last you a couple of years too. So it's something that I want to encourage people. 1 or 2 drops goes a long way. But the reality is, again, you're not going to find these oils in nature as oils. You're going to see them in plants. They need to be extracted. So you're not going to go into a rose garden and see a pool of rose. So I believe our bodies were not designed by God to interact with these oils in neat, undiluted quantities. And I use them as medicine. So I use them as body care under the right proportion. So the more dilution, the more carrier oil, the less the therapeutic effect. So a good rule of thumb is like 1 to 2% of the actual concoction should be essential oil. So that would mean 100 drops of a carrier oil, and you only have 1 or 2 drops of essential oil. Like that's a 1 to 2% dilution. Right.
Got it.
And so I don't expect you guys to count 100 drops. But an ounce is 600 drops. That makes it easy. So that means 6 drops of essential oil per 1 ounce of a carrier gives you, guarantee you that it shouldn't happen to you then. If it does, that means you're allergic to it, by the way, which can happen. That's the other pet peeve is people say you can't be allergic to essential oils because there's no proteins in it. Well, that is just, you don't understand chemistry, but you can be allergic to virtually anything. So yes, safe use. And also the fear. On the other end, you have some folks that caution you, just use whatever you want. You don't have to worry. But on the other end, you have some really conservative, fuddy-duddy aromatherapists that state, this is a big pet peeve of mine, that no one should use essential oils unless you're a certified aromatherapist. Well, that's disempowering. That puts people in bondage. I mean,
how did the first aromatherapist learn it?
Well, exactly. It's a shame because they're trying to undo the extreme on the other end where people are just teaching classes and no offense to anyone that's selling oils and teaching, but do you really understand how the body works? Have you been trained in anatomy and physiology? Like I have more toxicology hours as a chiropractor than an aromatherapist have in aromatherapy hours. Like people don't recognize in your education what we have to learn to become licensed, physicians or chiropractors or you name it. And so there is an element where if you're going to teach people how to use these oils, you should know, at least pick up a book like mine to get the basics so you can't go wrong.
Right.
And the last one, little pet peeve, is there's an oil for that. That's a slogan that you see out there. I'll tell you something. as much as I love oils, I'm not saying that they're the cure-all for death. It's a fun slogan, like there's an oil for that, and even I allude to that. But here's the problem, is that what I found, and it broke my heart, it broke my heart. I've been to some of the largest aromatherapy conventions, like the largest in the world, signing books and meeting my fans and things. I saw so many people in need of help, like outwardly sick. And primarily a lot of people overweight, a lot of people coming to me with just sickness. You just see bags in their eyes, just super tired, not sleeping, frazzled, just stressed out, like coming, like these are the people educating about essential oils. These are the people selling the oils. And I looked at them and there's an oil for that. Well, it dawned on me. I started looking at how they were eating. I was shocked to see so many people smoke cigarettes. And I was like, it dawned on me. Using essential oils or supplements or homeopathy or anything and not adapting a holistic, natural living lifestyle, it's synonymous to taking one step forward, but two steps back. You're making no progress.
Right.
Like it has to be an all-in-one thing. It has to consume your life. You know, you can't smoke your cigarette and then use peppermint and think you're going to overcome your asthma. It doesn't work like that. And so that it's not just a pet peeve, but it breaks my heart because so many people are really, really trying to do better, but they don't recognize that their lifestyle habits, their food choices. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but we got to recognize where can you up the game?
Right.
And one area I think everyone needs some support is mental health. How have you been managing this crisis that's been going on for now 9 almost months, and we've been on a razor edge, knife edge lifestyle? How have you been managing this? Have you seen holes? And holes are sometimes good because they recognize, just like the warning light. I guarantee you'd much rather have the warning light go on that say, hey, heads up, your transmission's going bad versus the car just dying.
Yeah.
You see, hopefully, you have seen areas where you've had some warning lights go on in your engine. What's going on? Take note, and then let's move forward because there are ways that we can overcome. And so, yeah, I can talk till I'm blue in the face about this, and it's something that is not only important to me because it's how I overcame, it's how I got healthy, and it's a forefront of our Bible Health ministry online. But it's the one area that is so easily preventable for people that people aren't talking enough of is how to truly prevent disease, how to truly prevent sickness, and how to be healthy. It's really boiled down to lifestyle.
So what I hear you say is essential oils really enhances your health, but you got to build your health other ways, which I totally agree with you. I find a lot of, I'm a traditionally trained internist who's practicing functional medicine, but I find a lot of people who do integrative and functional medicine don't look healthy themselves, but they are actually treating patients. So it really comes to a very holistic, I'm talking about not HOLI, but WHO. You take the whole approach to wellness, and essential oil is just basically like the crown on top of all of this, and really helps you do things more naturally. Like you started off this conversation with reducing the side effects. And again, getting it from natural sources. And again, how you use it, how you dilute it, what you use it for, what combinations. You need some kind of knowledge on that, or just learn it from people who have written books like yours. Am I getting the gist of?
Yeah, I mean, there are more and more functional medicine practitioners that are prescribing essential oils like they do supplementation and food. I mean, so, when it comes to functional medicine as a whole, it's really it caters to the individual and what this individual and what she or he really prefers to do. But at its core, we're trying to manage disease at its root cause using, I hope, a mixture of or just solely natural therapies to see what we could do with the body.
Yeah.
And so, but you can use, again, I see targeted supplementation being a popular topic in functional medicine. I would argue that essential oils can even have a more impact, a more potent impact because they're more potent. I mean, they're stronger, and they have a more predictable physiological response if you know how to use them right. But a lot of folks don't realize it. Like, oh wow, really? Like again, one drop of cinnamon bark essential oil has a similar effect as like a tablespoon of cinnamon bark powder when you're trying to increase insulin sensitivity and balance blood glucose. So as a functional medicine practitioner, I see a lot of people, okay, prescribing cinnamon supplementation or whatever. Well, hey, let me add the bigger bang for your buck approach to it. So some folks use essential oils when they need the big guns. But it also can be, I want to incorporate everything. I want to incorporate targeted supplementation, food, nutrition. I want to incorporate oils. I want to incorporate homeopathy. We have a million things in our tool belt. Mind, body, exercise, stress meditation, stress management techniques. So we have so many things at our disposal. And I definitely want to point out that I don't think essential oils are the end all of everything, but I do think that they are very well established in the research and should be in an integrative approach.
Got it. Would you recommend using essential oils on a daily basis?
Yeah, I do. And that's where the way of life comes into play. I never use oils unless, again, it's flu and cold season. So right now, again, we're seeing a huge surge in viral infections, and we really don't know what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, what's really going on with a lot of people, because every year millions of people get the flu around this time of the year. So when that happens and when everyone's sick around us, we'll do my immune boosting strategies I mentioned earlier, and more prophylactically through culinary doses or aromatherapy, like we'll diffuse certain things. But beside that, our lifestyle includes do-it-yourself aromatherapy in our body care, in our cleaning products. And if you see my little diffuser here, that replaces our aerosols and our wallflowers and plugins and poo-poo sprays and anything that could be synthetic we don't have in our home. And so that is how we use essential oils. Ultimately, I'll tell you, we save a lot of money too. Even though we spend money on the front end with oils, if you make your own stuff, it saves you money in the long run. And so if there's another big surge, in the outbreak for hand sanitizer or hand soap, everyone buys it at the store. Like we didn't care. It didn't bother us because we made our own and we know what to do. That's kind of neat. That's cool. And you can save a lot. You make it for pennies on the dollar. But that's how we enhance our life. And we make sure that we're very strategic in what we put on our body, because we know it will have a positive effect. So it really goes back to what our ancient ancestors did. And when you look at Ayurvedic medicine, when you look at biblical medicine, you see the ancients used herbal extracts as part of their like perfumes and ointments, and how they cleansed like the temples and after animal sacrifices. Like these were antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial properties in what they did there. They didn't know what they were doing. But essentially they didn't realize the mechanism, but they just knew through tradition or through a biblical lens. Like God said, Moses, get this big old vat of oil in the book Exodus, right? Get the anointing oil, get those big old vat of oil, put myrrh resin and calamus and cinnamon and put aloe and let it steep. Well, he was telling them how to make an herbal extract, right? And they decided it was like for ritual purposes. No. There's a lot of wisdom behind that, a lot of science behind that. So anyway, that's how we incorporate it. And it's very much a part of everything that we do, because here's the thing. You're using essential oils every day, all day long, whether you know it or not. What do you think is flavoring your Coca-Cola? What do you think is flavoring anything at all that has any sort of flavor in food? Any sort of smell? What do you think enhances the smell in your cologne? I mean, that's what it all is. It's a synthetic version of it. What do you think's in your cleaning products? Your body care? Everything that has smell to it has either a fake or a real essential oil to it. And it kind of hits you. Like, oh, really? Yeah, like you are using and consuming essential oils all day long and not knowing it. I'd rather just be a little more proactive, have more control over what it is, and make sure that it's the real deal, because 75 to 80% of all oils on the market are adulterated. And we see the same thing with wine. Wine aficionados, most of that wine on the shelves are made by the same 5 wine manufacturers and vineyards in America, and it's junk.
Yeah.
It's junk. If you know, type up biodynamic wine and fake wine, you'll be surprised. Same thing with olive oil. Most
Olive oil
olive
is
oil on
another
the
one.
market,
Yeah.
fake, adulterated. So
Yeah.
when you start looking at this stuff, like, wow. And then you taste olive oil for the first time. You taste like wine for the first time. You use an essential oil. Like, wow, this is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a joy to the spirit. It's a joy to the soul. The body's like, oh yeah, finally going back to nature. I know what this is like.
Yeah.
You know?
You're so right about that, because I think most of us, one of the things that we try to do with our podcast is really educate consumers and make them aware that there's a difference. And I really like what you just said. We're really surrounded by chemicals, and essential oils can pretty much replace everything that we use on a day-to-day basis. It's just you need to have that awareness that that's an option. Number two, learn how to put it in the right proportion and use the right oil for the right place at the right time. And I think pretty much you live a natural life. It's not, like you said, it's not like there's an oil for that. It's just knowing that there is an oil for that, what you're actually already using.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
The
that's
power's
very
in your
interesting.
hands. The power's in your
Absolutely.
hands. And know this. I want to leave you all with a wonderful tip. Know this, that you could create a healthy, happy environment in your home. And more people are spending time indoors than ever before.
Yeah.
And that's not good, by the way. And up until recently, we have shown, or researchers have shown, that people on average spend 94% of their time indoors.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you just chew on that for a minute. If you live to 100, 94 years of that indoors in this man-made box with God knows what kind of chemicals are being emitted everywhere and everything else, where I would argue that we need to balance out that curve a little bit more and try to get some more sunshine and fresh air. But if you can all the time, especially with, sheltering in place orders, and I know, lockdown, and Michigan's in lockdown right now. Like, wow, what do? You could create the outdoor experience indoors. And that's where I like diffusing spruce and cypress and cedar wood and Douglas fir, like tree oils that you would get out in the park.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my diffuser right now as we speak. And I find myself, if I can't go outside as much as I want, but I do, and I'm really being intentional about that, you can bring that experience home, and you'll find that your house is a healthy, safe haven that you're going to want to be in. A lot of folks are in a pretty negative situation because they're stuck at home and they don't want to be at home. Well, I love my house, and we made it that way. And so maybe now's the time to reset, especially as we approach holidays and through the new year. Maybe you start the one by one, create your happy place in your house. So you want to be home.
Right.
And then it's a joy, not like a burden. So that we have ultimately the control over this situation, over our health, over the environment in our house. And I want to encourage people with that because it puts you in the driver's seat.
Got it. So is there any question I should have asked you, but I didn't ask?
No, I think you asked some wonderful questions, and I really appreciate the opportunity. And I encourage people to pick up my book, The Healing Power of Essential Oils. Amazon's got it on discount, I think, for like $13 or something right now. It's a great deal. And I think you'll really enjoy it. We've sold well over 100,000 copies. It's in 8 languages around the world now. And it'll get you started. It'll get you started and give you a lot to get to chew on for the next few months or a year for sure.
Great. So once again, just for you guys listening to this, it's The Healing Power of Essential Oils by Dr. Eric Zielinski. It's Zielinski. And I will have a link posted at the end of this podcast. And his website is naturallivingfamily.com.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Dr. Z. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think I'm a little wiser about essential oils finally.
Awesome.
So I appreciate that.
That was the goal. Thanks for having me. God bless everyone. Happy holidays.
Take
Merry
care.
Christmas.
Bye-bye. Same to you.